888-723-23.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazali back there on the ones and twos, and fired up you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Glenn West, 30 minutes from right now, certainly LSU football. We'll chat with Glenn. We'll talk some basketball with him as well. I got to get you ready for LSU and Charleston Southern tonight inside the PMAC. We'll do that at 2 o'clock. Tigers coming off a big road win against Kansas State. Got to keep things rolling. Good news is Charleston Southern, real bad. We'll talk about them an hour from right now. Sharie A in 90 minutes talking Saints. Who-Dats have won 2 in a row. What does that mean? Chat with Sharie, who should be in a pretty good mood over all that. So fired up to get things going today, and thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We start the same way every single day. Let's do it with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
We start with some breaking news here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We've got it first, so everyone will need to attribute us when moving forward with this monumental breakdown that we've got here. LSU's offense is not playing very well. There you have it. But you're also aware of that. And I wanted to take a little bit of a deeper dive. And one of the things that I heard this morning, listening to Off the Bench with Jake and T-Bob, was a statistic about LSU's inability to get the ball down the field. And T-Bob got it from Bill Connolly on ESPN.com. And I took that statistic from Bill Connolly and just kind of expounded on a few different aspects of it. But it's all rooted in the fact that LSU has become one-dimensional. And because they've become one-dimensional, they've become very easy to stop, and that's borne out in just the points production. In that 6-game win streak that LSU rattled off after the USC game, LSU was averaging 36.5 points per game. LSU was in the top 5 in the country in a lot of different passing categories. They were as good as anybody in the country on third downs. And since that 36.5 points per game has dwindled to 17.3 points per game in these 3 losses. And they've been beaten by a score combined of 107-52. But I mentioned that one-dimensional offense. What does that mean? It's not just that LSU really just throws it and doesn't run it very well. It goes further than that. LSU only throws it well around the line of scrimmage. They don't throw it well pushing the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. Bill Connolly writes in his piece, What Went Wrong, and he details every team that's fallen out of the playoff race. Garrett Nussmeier of the last 3 games is averaging 3.3 air yards per completion, meaning when he completes balls, they are on the average of 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That is shrinking your one dimension down to half a dimension because teams don't have to defend and respect the deep ball. They're not really concerned with your ability to run. Well, now everybody can key in on one thing: short, quick, supposedly efficient passes. And that makes you really difficult, really easy to defend. Brian Kelly had his press conference yesterday, and he spoke to this complete inability that LSU has to stretch the field and what defenses have done over the last 3 weeks.
No, I think teams have decided here's how we want to play you. And, we have to be able to push the ball vertically. And that's really what we're addressing and making sure that we do everything in our practice to connect on those. I think you saw 3 balls that were thrown down the field. All 3 we missed on. in some fashion. Those balls need to be completed. We need to push the ball because we have defenders that are sitting on all of our routes and making it more difficult than it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, I would suggest that's probably right. Before Texas A&M, Garrett Nussmeier was completing 65% of his throws. Over the last 3 weeks, down to 57. That's an 8-point dip. 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That's 3-1 pre-A&M. Since A&M, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks. How about the sack totals? And, of course, they were greatly influenced by Saturday when you gave up 7. But still, in 3 games, 11 sacks. In the 7 before that, 2. Both by South Carolina. Every aspect of the team offensively has cratered because of this inability to do anything else besides one trick. And you look at teams that rely on throwing the football a lot, because LSU does. That's not a death sentence in college football. Colorado throws it a lot. Miami throws it a lot. Clemson throws it a lot. Georgia throws it a lot. All of those teams are in the top 25 in the country in pass attempts. All of them besides LSU are still very much alive in the playoff mix. Now, I'm not trying to immediately toss Colorado out there onto the field with Oregon. I'm not immediately telling you that Miami's going to win the national championship, even though they play with fire every week and lost to Georgia Tech. But I'm telling you that teams are winning a lot of football games, Georgia included, relying on throwing the ball a lot. But those teams do a much better job of creating big plays in the passing game than LSU does. LSU's 4th in the country in pass attempts. 4th in the country. Colorado's 14th. LSU is almost 50th in the country in pass plays of 40-plus yards. They've created 7 of them. Colorado has doubled that. They have 14 such plays. That's 4th in the country. Miami is 6th in the country in creating those big plays. Clemson is 12th in the country in creating those big plays. LSU is 49th. So if you're going to rely on that aspect of your team, the passing game, you need to be able to bust big plays. And LSU's just simply not doing it right now. Over the last 2 weeks, it's been startling. You snapped the ball 93 times at Florida. You never had a 30-yard pass in 93 snaps. You threw the ball 42 times on Bama. You never had a 30-yard pass. 93 snaps against Florida, 42 passes against Bama. Never did you throw a 30-yard pass or have a pass broken for 30 yards. The longest was the Aaron Anderson touchdown against Florida for 28. That's 2 games of throwing it and snapping it and throwing it and snapping it, and you just can't get that big chunk play. And I'll pile on to that because it gets worse. No team in the Southeastern Conference, there's 16 of them, none of them have come close to allowing as many 20-yard passes as Florida has. Florida has given up 46 20-plus yard passes. Second worst in the league is 36. That is 10 better. Florida's the worst. Now, who is that team that's second worst in the league? It's Vanderbilt. Here come the Commodores. You've got to figure out some way to create big plays in the passing game. Yes, Aaron Anderson catching a slant and going a mile against A&M is awesome. And that was a really nice step up in the pocket and floater down the field to Anderson again in the Florida game to create the touchdown. But you need Chris Hilton to make some sort of an impact. You need Kyron Lacey to be a little bit more of a deep threat, and you got to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. It's not that far in the rearview mirror that LSU was humming it down the field against Ole Miss. They were taking shots. And part of that's gone away in the offense. So the result is you've got defenses that are creeping up. They know they can probably stop the run game with just 4 or 5 guys. all the secondary and linebackers can hover around that 5-7 yard mark, and they can close your windows up real quick. Where even though Garrett Nussmeier has now a season basically under his belt and has completed a lot of passes and has made some huge throws, those windows are getting real tight because you've only got half a dimension in your offense now. So they've got to find a way. And Brian Kelly, like he talked about it, it's not like they're unaware of this trend. He spoke about it yesterday in the press conference. Have to find a way to get the ball down the field. Everybody else can against Vanderbilt, but everybody else could against Florida too, and you showed that you couldn't. And when I dig up statistics like that, I take a little bit of solace personally in picking LSU to smoke Florida. It was a terrible pick. Awful pick. Looks homerish, looks stupid, looks wrong. Thankfully, it wasn't financially detrimental to me. But when you look at statistics, man, and you look at some of the trends that have gone on for the entirety of the season, for LSU to get whipped like that in Gainesville doesn't make a lot of sense on paper. They don't play it on paper. They played it in the swamp. LSU got smoked. They'll play it again in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. We'll see if LSU can't figure a few things out. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. All right, we'll come back and we'll talk about some uniforms. I promise. I'm going to take a different approach today. I'm not going to rant and rave and scream about the uniforms. That segment is tired. That segment is old. I'm not doing it anymore, but I do have some thoughts, and I just want to explain kind of my point of view, and I'm happy to listen to any of yours, maybe Beck, maybe someone in the Bayou 4 chat. But LSU's going to wear some yellow uniforms on Saturday, and I'll give my thoughts on that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. I've had the pleasure and privilege to spend quite a few Thursday nights at LeBear's over the football season, 4 of them to be exact, and had a great time. It's a great place to watch a game. Beers are ice cold. Food comes out quick. It is really tasty, and the viewing experience is fantastic. You've got big, comfy chairs. You got tables for a group. There's a blackjack table right there, the sportsbook window right in front of you. They got multiple games going at one time. It's an awesome place. If you have not been, I would highly recommend you check that out. And you got 2 weeks left to download Cover 5 on your app store and play in the SEC contest. I give you that promo code every day, LABRSEC24. You can compete against me if you did this week. I think there are 134 people competing. I got 127, so that'll tell you. It's pretty easy to beat me. Just get on there and see if you can beat everybody else and win weekly prizes. If you're not a member, get the Pin Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Chat with our guy Glenn West, senior writer at Go247, coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll talk some football with Glenn. We'll also talk a little basketball as LSU and Charleston Southern will play tonight inside the PMAC, 7 o'clock. Get there at 6 o'clock. They've got some great concession deals that they've got. You can read about it at lsusports.net, but they're all over the place. You can get some real discounted concessions in that first hour that the arena is open before LSU and Charleston Southern. So get on by and get there early tonight for the Tigers and the Buccaneers, which I did not know as of this morning when I started to write a preview on them, which you can find at louisianasports.net, incidentally. Part of the job description in media is to inform, and part of the job description in media is to entertain. And I take that pretty seriously. I realize that far more often than not, I am leaning more informative than entertaining. I'm not like wildly hilarious on the air. I'm not really a shock jock, but I'm willing to go look up statistics and try to give explanations and opinions when necessary. I try to stay in my lane in that way. One of the times where we don't use any statistics and it's a lot of emotional and there is a quote unquote entertaining appeal to it is when I start going on uniforms. Uniforms are a subjective thing. It is what it is. Some people like, some people don't. It just is what it is. And so I'm going to take a little bit more of a serious tone with this uniform discussion than I have in the past. Y'all are all aware of my kind of taste in things. Like, I think politicians in suits look a lot better than celebrities going to some gala with an animal head next to their head. Like, I'm traditional in that sense. That's the way I kind of see the world. That's what appeals to me in terms of apparel and fashion. Y'all know that about me. And so my opinion on what these gold uniforms look like is just that. It's purely an opinion. You can have yours. I can have mine. Hester can have his. Beck can have his. Beck, what do you think about the yellow uniforms? We'll just get yours right off the top here. What do you think about yellow jerseys?
I don't like them very much.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So I think they're ugly, but that's okay. I think LSU's yellow basketball uniforms are ugly. I think LSU's road basketball uniforms that don't have any white on them are ugly. I think they're too harsh. My favorite LSU baseball uniform is not the golds that they wear on Sunday. I like the whites. I like the grays. I like the pinstripes. I even like the purples. I think gold looks better as an accent than the main color. I realize that it is one of LSU's colors. I actually think,
it's also not gold. It's yellow.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And so it's Washington looks more gold than that. Notre Dame's helmets look more gold than that. But it is what it is. So that's not really the point of this. That's just a subjective opinion. Everybody has their opinions. This is another side of this discussion. To me, there is value in LSU's brand. There's value to me in Saturday Night in Death Valley. There's value to me in the Golden Band from Tigerland and those 4 notes that you hear pregame and the reputation that LSU has of an earthquake going off inside Tiger Stadium. There's value to me in the H-style goalposts and the fact that we paint the yard lines every 5 yards. And I think people notice that about LSU. I don't think anybody notices anything the Arizona Cardinals have ever done. I don't think anybody notices anything the San Diego Padres do. I don't think anybody notices what Southeast Missouri State does. I don't think anybody really cares what Cal does. But LSU has a brand and there are traditions specific to LSU that I think are really cool and that make LSU very identifiable. And one of them is the fact that LSU always wears white at home. And I think when you walk into a bar and there are 9 games on the TVs, LSU is as easy to identify as anyone in college football. If you walk into that same bar and A&M or Mississippi State is on the channel, I don't think you can tell which one is which. They both have maroon and white and maroon helmets, and it is what it is. I don't think you can tell the difference in Arkansas and Indiana. I don't think you can tell the difference in Wisconsin or Louisville or Ball State. They all kind of look the same. That, to me, is cool that you can walk in and go, that's LSU. The same way if you walk into that same bar, that's Notre Dame. That's Ohio State. That's Michigan. That's USC. No one looks like them. And no one looks like LSU. Unless you start to do this. And if you were to walk into that bar and look up at the TV and you watched LSU and Texas A&M 3 weeks ago and you saw LSU in all whites, you would not be able to immediately identify LSU. That to me means something. And it doesn't mean something to most people, and that's okay. I'm just expressing my point of view. It means something to me to have a brand that powerful. I like the fact that the Yankees have that brand. I like the fact that a lot of teams with that kind of history have that kind of brand. The Cowboys have that kind of brand. And LSU does. And when you take that away, it disappoints me a little bit. Now, I'm with y'all that if you want to go ahead here and there and wear something different, like I'm not going to like it, but I get it a little bit. You lose me when you do it 5 times in 11 games. You lose me there. You don't need to do it that much. You want to wear these gold jerseys one time? Cool. You want to go all white against Western Kentucky? I'll live. But you're wearing these in conference games. You're wearing these at home at night. You're losing, to me, something that's kind of the essence of the program in its traditions. I don't want to replace the band full-time with a DJ. I don't want to put a DJ out there at the 50-yard line instead of having the band spell out LSU and sing the alma mater. Like, the game would still go on. It would be fine. Some people would like it. Some people wouldn't. Younger people probably would. Older people probably wouldn't. But there's tradition involved in that, and I think that's important. But to a lot of people, it's just not. And there are going to be tons of people that point to DJ Pickett's tweet yesterday where he said sheesh when they released these things. Fine. I don't think DJ Pickett was coming to LSU because of the yellow uniforms, and I don't think he was going to leave if they just wore the white ones. It's just my opinion that you're diluting something that's so great. And again, 1 time out of 12 games, I'll live. But I think even the youngest and most eager to change things up person would say that 5 times is a lot. Every once in a while, Notre Dame rocks a green or Notre Dame comes out and does something different. They don't do it 5 times. Michigan will wear blue pants every once in a while. They're not going to do it 5 times. Even like Tennessee is going to come out in their dark mode uniforms, which I think look hellacious, but whatever. They do it once. 5 is a lot out of 11, and I'm sitting here, there's no guarantee they're not going to come out in icy whites against Oklahoma. That's half the schedule. So, again, to put a bow on this, because we're not going to do this every single time, but I'm not telling you I'm right and you're wrong. I'm not telling you that the scoreboard's going to change. I'm not telling you that there's an actual effect on the score of the game. And if LSU, if you could promise me that LSU was going to finish 11-1 every year for the next 10 years, they could wear an Ole Miss different color uniform every week if I was promised that. I'm not. You're not promised anything by putting on the uniforms. You're not promised recruits. You're not promising an inspired effort. I promise you. They got annihilated by Texas A&M in the second half. They wore the icy whites against Tennessee and got crushed. My first bachelor party, we went to Oxford, and LSU wore all white uniforms against Ole Miss and got beat by 1,000. There's no correlation to the guys getting pumped up and fired up to play. In fact, half the time they wear them, they get eviscerated. I just feel like there's a brand associated with LSU that has been cultivated and is an all-time best. And to go out there 5 times wearing something that dilutes that is counterproductive in my estimation.
Yeah, I
no
do,
yelling, no screaming, that's how I feel.
I do think though that with the yellow, at least, I know that's whenever they play Vanderbilt, sometimes Vanderbilt will object to.
There was a time in the 90s where Vanderbilt objected,
and I don't know if they still do that or not. I don't know if okay.
They came here it's been a while, but they came here. And I looked it up when we had the game time announced. I can't remember. It was mid-2000s. It's been a while, but in mid-2000s, LSU wore white.
Okay, but still, yeah, I just don't really think it looks great. I don't know what helmets they're gonna go with. I guess they're gonna go white.
It's got to be all white.
Yeah. So, it doesn't really look good to me. But I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that,
to me, alternate uniforms are for the MAC schools on Tuesdays and for Oklahoma State and whatever. When you're Ohio State or Michigan or Notre Dame or Alabama or Penn State or Oklahoma, one of these iconic brands, to dilute that, I just think is. But look, I'm not progressive in that way. I'm progressive in a lot of ways. I'm not progressive in that way. I just want I want the classics. Y'all know if I had it my way, they'd wear the same uniform every week. And I get why people think that that's boring. And trust me, when I was 11 and I played NCAA football on Xbox or Nintendo 64 at that time, I absolutely put on purple uniforms and white pants and all. When I was 11, I did that. I just grew out of it. So it is what it is. That's those are my thoughts on uniforms. We'll take yours in the Bayou Ford chat. I'm kind of looking through, and we'll maybe get Glenn's thoughts on the gold uniforms as well. We're going to chat with him about baseball and about basketball. No baseball, football and basketball coming up with Glenn. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. If you want to watch LSU in those gold uniforms, whether you like them or don't, you can do so in an awesome home entertainment system that was installed by Audio Video Security Solutions. Cat's got the old tongue there. But Mitchell Fisher can help you out with all your audio, all your video, all your security. He's been fantastic with us. The installation process was so seamless, and the customer service afterward has been just as good. We've had a couple of issues that were self-inflicted because we've got a kiddo at home and we don't know what we're doing with technology from time to time. But we just call Mitchell. He comes over that afternoon almost every time. And one time he fixed it in like 45 seconds. So he's been fantastic to work with. Give him a call, 225-439-7920. Again, that's 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Bertman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Let's talk turkey. Bayou Ford can get you in a new 2024 Ford F-150 with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off America's favorite F-150 truck. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink, or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the...
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations in Baton Rouge. Nicholson just south of campus. Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We're heading to the PMAC tonight, watching LSU and Charleston Southern. Get on by Plucker's before or after the game. Come after the game, watch do a little sports trivia, because we'll be there tonight from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. Calling out some sports trivia question, giving away gift cards, cold beer, great wings. Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7, joins us now. We'll talk some football and some basketball with Glenn. How we doing?
Doing okay, Hunt. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right as well. Let's start with football, I guess. What was the most surprising thing you saw on Saturday?
I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, is there anything more specific that you want to talk about? I mean, there was just so much wrong. I mean, there was, I think probably for me, you saw this offensive line has been able to pass protect pretty well all season, but I think you finally saw the wheels come off there in the second half for even that aspect of this offense. I mean, the offensive performance was just abysmal. I mean, Florida was coming in and they were down 4 or 5 starters from where they were at the start of the year, and you can't finish off drives. You can't you can't throw the ball more than 5 or 6 yards down the field. I mean, there was just a lot wrong, and I don't put it all on Nussmeier. I don't put it all on the offensive line. I think it's a collection of everybody that's just been a massive failure for the last 3 weeks offensively, and a big reason why you're in this hole. I mean, I know the defense gave up 27 points in the 18 minutes that they were on the field, but they kind of held in there for as long as possible. And I think if the offense had been able to cap off some of those drives, you're looking at you're talking about a very different game and a very different storyline. So it comes back to the offense for me. It starts at the top, obviously, with what Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan are doing, and then gravitates certainly towards the players and kind of the ineffectiveness to cap off some of these drives. I mean, they were 13 to 24 on third down. They doubled up Florida in plays. They more than doubled them up in play time. I mean, I know you've probably covered all this already, but just the lack of efficiency there to cap off those drives, I think you really felt that. And certainly I think the offensive line's play, especially in pass protection, had a lot to do with it.
Do you think the 6 sacks, 7 sacks were a result of the 0 turnovers? Meaning, instead of just deciding I'm going to force it in there, I'm just going to eat it?
Yeah, I think there was some of that, but I mean, even early in the game, we saw Nussmeier throw the ball away. I mean, like he was throwing the ball away sometimes when things weren't open downfield. I mean, the thing that really stood out to me, and I've said this now I think for a couple of weeks, but the passing game here has gotten very vanilla. I mean, at least the passing offense was kind of the strength of this team the first 5-6 weeks of the season, but I'm not sure if you saw or many of the LSU fan base has seen, but there was an article from ESPN that kind of broke down some of the advanced numbers. Garrett Nussmeier, over these last 3 games, per completion, he's averaging 3.3 air yards per pass. I mean, they're not throwing the ball down the field at all. And, I think when defenses have figured that out, it makes LSU very predictable, even in the passing game, and that was supposed to be the strength of this offense. So, look, I think there was some truth to what you just said there about the pressure and him, just kind of eating it instead of maybe forcing some things maybe where they weren't there. But I think that it also comes down to just the the lack of kind of I guess creativity is the best word you can use for it in terms of just how predictable this offense has been now for well over a month.
Is the inability to stretch the field because of their predictability on offense, or because they don't have the wide receivers to go do it?
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, I think I've said it now for a couple of weeks, maybe on this show, but certainly on a couple others on our podcast and stuff. Like, I just don't see any separation from these receivers right now. I mean, Aaron Anderson had a really solid game overall. Mason Taylor is obviously a really great crutch for Nussmeier and is always reliable, but really outside of those two, I mean, he was struggling to get the ball to anybody, and I think that they just had a really tough time of creating separation against a Florida secondary that was pretty decimated with injuries. So some of that has to do with the pressure, and some of it has to do with those guys just not being able to get out of their routes and create some of that separation. And I don't know where else this offense can go. I mean, like, we've only got 2 more games here where you can really kind of see if there's any tangible improvement that's being made. I thought the run game was solid. I mean, look, they ran for 160 yards between Durham and Williams, which is something we've been begging to see for a while. And you'd think that it would have had an effect on the passing game, but there was just so little time for Nussmeier to make decisions, and certainly he was a little bit more conservative. I think you could see early in the game he was certainly trying not to make mistakes, and I think it just led to a very vanilla offense and a very conservative passing offense that just wasn't able to create many explosive plays.
Let's talk about the defense then. No sacks in this game against freshman quarterback. Didn't get Jalen Milroe either. That was the strength of this team, was the ability to get to the passer. What have you seen there?
Yeah, I mean, look, we thought coming into that game that Lagway was going to be limited mobility wise, and that certainly proved to be the case. He was not looking to move at all in that game, and LSU was bringing some pressure at times, but I think you credit to what they were doing offensively for Florida in some respects, because Lagway was hitting a lot of these passes down the field and getting the secondary and compromising positions, and those receivers made some plays. And but I don't know if I can complain too much about the defense. I mean, they had them at 13 points for until the third quarter. They were I think they did most of their jobs well. I mean, you had the one bust there at the very end that kind of broke the game open, but I mean, I can't really blame the defense much for this one. I mean, you could certainly go back to Alabama and say, yeah, there were some real deficiencies there defensively. You could go back to the second half of A&M and say, yeah, that was a real rough game for LSU defensively. But I mean, I thought that, for the most part, they did what they were asked to do for a lot of that game, especially early in the first half, and they just had no help from the offense. And I think it comes back to this team just really struggling to have complementary football for 11 weeks now, and that's something that comes back to the coaching staff and extends throughout the entire program.
What does your gut tell you these next 2 weeks hold?
I have no clue. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose both games. I wouldn't be surprised if they win both games. I mean, I think for LSU's sake, they have to find a way to protect home field here and to kind of get out with some momentum. I'd love to see, Brian Kelly talked a lot about the players that are going to be on the field over the next couple of weeks, and the ones that are going to be the guys that have shown them in practice that they're not giving up on the season, that they're still going to be working hard. And you hope that's the first and second year players on this roster. You hope that those guys are continuing to push and continuing to, see some opportunities maybe open up for them over these next couple weeks, because those are the guys you're going to be building around. And certainly with this 2025 class that's coming in, you're hoping that those guys can have an immediate impact. But Deshaun Womack, Deshaun Spears, Kylan Jackson, some of these first and second year players, Devon Keys on defense. I mean, offensively, I'd love to see Trey'Dez Green get a few catches. I'd love to continue to see Caden Durham get 20 carries a game. I mean, like, there's some things that you can learn about these young players over the next couple weeks. Whether that leads to wins or not, I don't know. But there's a lot that I think that LSU needs to lean into, and you just hope that it's the first and second year guys that are the ones that are kind of picking up some of the charge here over the last couple weeks and seeing a lot of time on the field.
He's Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, our guest each and every Tuesday. Let's transition over to basketball. Huge win for LSU back on Thursday against Kansas State. What stood out to you in that one?
Yeah, I think the defense for sure. The defense leading to the offense was my biggest takeaway. I thought LSU's perimeter defense was fantastic. I mean, they're leading the country in three-point field goal defense by a mile. I mean, it's not even close who the second team is right now. And I know we're still early in the season, but Cam Carter and Jai Bailey were very calculated guys that Matt McMahon and this staff went after this past offseason. And you're already seeing the results there of what kind of pressure that they can create defensively. Cam Carter's put in a lot of work on his offensive game, and I think he's obviously poised for a really strong season here for LSU at the two-guard position. But certainly the ability to push the ball up the court off of misses was something that really stood out to me. They got out in transition every single time there was a missed basket or a turnover. They were getting out in transition. Excuse me. They were getting out in transition and getting easy baskets at the rim, catch and shoot three opportunities. And I just think that they've been very, very strong in pretty much all areas so far this season. I don't really have one particular area that is a major concern for me right now. They've been really solid these first three games.
How do you think the situation works itself out in the front court with Corey Chest and Derek Fountain? Obviously, Fountain wasn't available in the Kansas State game. Chest came in and was incredible on the backboard. Is there room for both of those guys to play, or do you think the minutes have to lean one way or the other?
They're very similar players, and I will say, I probably would lean Chest there just because he's been kind of the energizer bunny that I think they really like. But Fountain's a veteran presence for them too, and I think they'll find minutes for him as well. But I really like the idea of both of those guys coming off the bench. I don't know that they get both of them in the game, and I think it's going to be a matchup based kind of deal because I think Corey Chest still is pretty limited offensively in his game, and I think there's a little bit more versatility with Fountain when you have him on the floor. But I loved what Corey Chest did in that game. I loved obviously what Victorious Miller did. Mike Williams was kind of the guy that was squeezed in that 9-man rotation against Kansas State. I'll be very interested to see kind of what his role looks like and how they kind of diversify the minutes in the backcourt off the bench, because you've got a lot of guys that I think could play between him and Givens and Miller. So there's some rotation stuff they're going to have to figure out here, but as long as they're winning and as long as they're playing the way that they are, you can continue to tinker with those lineups to try to find the best ones before SEC play.
Glenn, we appreciate some time. We'll see you later. He's Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. All your team coverage for LSU football, basketball, baseball, your recruiting coverage of signing day inches a little bit closer. You can always find it there at Go 24/7. Glenn's with us each and every Tuesday. We'll step aside, come back and close out hour number one. We got some sound from Brian Kelly that we'll play. We'll talk some basketball coming up in 15 minutes. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety's a big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. Bathroom can be a really hazardous place. Falls can be extremely serious. Do what you can to mitigate that. Get David Duvall and his team to come in with some non-slip floors, some handrails, walk-in tubs, showers with benches in them. These are types of things that David Duvall and his team can do all the time. And if you haven't really given any thought to potentially doing that into the bathroom for you or someone that you love, maybe do so. If you think, man, I don't know about paying for that as well, they've got financing options. 18 months, 0% if you qualify for it. Start that process with a free consultation. Have David Duvall and his team come over and see you. That doesn't cost anything. You talk about what you're looking for, what you might want to do, and David Duvall can walk you through that process step by step. The website's OneBathAndClosets.com. You can see some pictures of their great work there. You can also see the reviews from their satisfied customers and get that free consultation starting today. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Closing up hour one here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Pluckers. And I think if you were to ask anyone who covers LSU, is a fan of LSU, as of July 15th, when you're getting ready for SEC Media Days, what position group at LSU looks the best overall in terms of high-end talent, depth, young talent, projectability to the future? I think anybody probably would have said offensive line. I don't know how you could have gone really anywhere else. I think running back, maybe, if you were going to say that they have Josh Williams and John Emery plus Caleb Jackson and then Caden Durham coming in, maybe. But I think offensive line would have gotten the vast majority of those votes. And now, with 4 losses on your ledger, 2 games left, you start, as a fan and someone who covers a team, to look beyond the next 2 weeks and go into 2025, into 2026. And I think a lot of people probably feel significantly differently about that offensive line today. Now, that may prove to be correct or incorrect, but I'm just talking about the feeling. Because DJ Chester has had an up and down first year as a starter, as a redshirt freshman. That can be expected. But you certainly wouldn't call it a dominant first year. And then you saw Tyree Adams go down, and then when Dellinger went down, you had to go to Paul Mabenga, and for 2 weeks, Paul had his issues, there's no doubt. Again, as a redshirt freshman, doesn't mean you can't improve. But you look at Will Campbell's going to be gone, Dellinger and Frazier are going to be gone, and Emory Jones will have a decision to make. And I've kind of assumed he would be gone. Matt told you on his show earlier this week that he thought that there's a chance that he could come back, and we'll see. But you're going to be moving on from a lot of known commodities. Say what you will about overrated, underrated, great players, high draft picks, not like what, but They are proven commodities. And the guys behind them are not. And what you've got is the sample size of DJ Chester and Tyree Adams and Paul Mabenga is a question mark, I think is fair to say. And Brian Kelly talked about kind of what LSU is going to do with the injury to Dellinger and whether or not Mabenga and Adams can be interchangeable and whether Adams can play left guard. And he kind of gave this answer yesterday.
We're going to play the guys that we think give us the best chance, right? I mean, whoever's assessment relative to who played and how they played is really an assessment left to our coaching staff. We'll decide who the best guys are. Tyree was forced into action, as you know, when Miles went down, and he went in and he competed the best he could, given somebody that hadn't played in quite some time. So both of those guys are still going to be in the mix. Both of those guys are still in the phases of, getting early snaps. In other words, in their career, early snaps. So they're still developing, quite frankly. But we're high on both of them. Both of them will be ready to play this weekend.
You've still got a slew of really highly rated players that look the part, that profile as Brian Kelly, projectable offensive linemen. They're long and lean. You've got Weston Davis. You've got, obviously, Chester and Mabenga that we just talked about. You've got Tyree Adams, who projects as a tackle, Ori Williams, Cohen Eccles. You've got talented guys with big frames. You just don't know how those guys are going to progress. And obviously, offensive line is one of the most difficult positions to assess at the high school level. Because these guys that have the frame to play at LSU, to play at Bama, to play at Florida, to play at Ole Miss or Ohio State, when you're 6'6", 298 pounds, and you're playing high school football against some 6'1", 220-pound dudes, you can look really good run blocking because you just fire off and you get your hands on that little pipsqueak and you just go to work because you're huge and he's not, and that's how it works. And then you got to get up into this level and learn technique and deal with guys who are stronger than you right when you get to campus. And some guys pick it up immediately, like the 2 tackles LSU's got right now do, and some guys never do. And the point of this segment is not at all to suggest that LSU's in big, big trouble on the offensive line. I'm just suggesting that maybe, based on purely recruiting rankings and watching a few one-on-one reps at practice, we may not have gotten the full effect. Because don't you know that Chester and Mabenga were the best of the group because that's who LSU went with. Chester was the center, and Mabenga was the first guy they brought in once Dellinger and Adams went down. So it stands to reason those guys are ahead of the class right now, and it's not dominant. So Brad Davis has got work to do. Brad Davis has got to continue to recruit at the high level he's recruiting, and he's got to develop these guys. Because LSU is, at the very least, going to have some major question marks for their first game next year on the road at Clemson in front of, 83,000 going nuts? And you may have a fifth-year starting quarterback back there. You might have a true freshman back there playing quarterback. So it's going to be vital for that offensive line to blossom into something really, really good. And Brad Davis, over his time as an offensive line coach, has had really, really good offensive lines. But it's crazy what a difference a year makes, and that's why you're always careful when you just start projecting guys based on their profile on On3 or their profile on 24/7 Sports. You got to get out there and earn it. And right now, none of those guys have made a huge impact at this point, and they're going to have to make a huge impact on next year. It's just something that you're going to have to be cognizant of here in Baton Rouge. All right, if you're looking for LSU football content like that, or like my discussion earlier about uniforms, or like the Brian Kelly auto that we played, you can go to Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Subscribe up to the YouTube channel. All of our LSU football content just feeds into your algorithm right there on the top. Cassie, Jesse, the whole Spazzali team does an awesome job of getting all of my stuff put there on YouTube, as well as all our other social medias. So check it out on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. If you're looking for Saints content, you can get that as well. Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Same deal. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. It ought to pop right up. Subscribe to the channel. All our stuff will be fed right to you every single day. Open the show today talking about LSU's inability to find some big plays in the passing game to stretch the field in the passing game. There's a great stat from ESPN.com from Bill Connolly that's in there, and then I went and dug up some more on what LSU's done over the last 3 weeks, and it's pretty startling stuff. So you can go listen to that at the top of the show on demand, wherever you find your sound, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Or you can go read about it, LouisianaSports.net, because I wrote a story up at the front. So if you don't have access to listening here in the next 20, 25 minutes and want to get that information, you can do it at LouisianaSports.net. At 1:15, I talked uniforms. We did it in a little bit more of a reasonable tone. We did it with some feelings that I have about these gold uniforms that LSU will wear on Saturday. So if you want to check that out, you can certainly find it in our 1:15 segment. Then Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7, good enough to give us a little bit of his time. We'll see him later today at player interviews for LSU football, and then tonight inside the PMAC for LSU and Charleston Southern. Speaking of LSU and Charleston Southern, I'm going to talk about LSU and Charleston Southern coming up at 2 o'clock after we step aside for Sports Center. Charleston Southern is not very good, but LSU's got some things they can accomplish tonight in their first game since a big win back Thursday in Manhattan, Kansas. Still got more sound from Brian Kelly. We'll get to it at 2:15, and then Sharie A from WDSU down in New Orleans will chat Saints with us in 35 minutes. We're going to step aside for Sports Center. Hope you'll come back with us. The Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Look, I know that most people don't look forward to going to a car dealership, but I promise you, you might want to go check this one out. I've been a couple of times to meet with the crew over there at Genesis Baton Rouge. It is such a delightful atmosphere. It's a brand new building. It's state-of-the-art. It's quiet. It's a wonderful place to get some work done. If you need to drop your car off and want to sit through and wait at the service aisle there, you can absolutely do it. They've got a state-of-the-art coffee maker in there that can make whatever you need. They've got all the snacks there. It's quiet. The Wi-Fi is great. You'll be able to get some work done there. It's not like the old car dealership that's got the prices right going a million decibels there. It's really nice. It's comfortable. It's a fantastic spot. It's Airline at PQ. It's just all part of the experience of being a Genesis driver. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
I'm Christine Lisi. 7 weeks after firing coach Robert Saleh, Jets owner Woody Johnson has fired GM Joe Douglas. In Douglas's tenure, New York was 30-64, no winning seasons, no playoff appearances. He built a roster with a couple of young stars, but had a huge miss in quarterback Zach Wilson in 2021. ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday.
When you got the QB second, and then it doesn't go well, and then you bring in a guy and it's not going well, and some of your high picks are just they're just kind of playing okay. I think at the end of the day, Woody was just decided, hey, I'm going to scrap it all and restart this thing.
Jeff Saturday on Carlin versus Joe. NBA 76ers held a team meeting after last night's loss in which players and coaches held each other accountable and took fault for the 2-11 start to the season. In addition, Tyrese Maxey challenged teammate and close friend Joel Embiid to be on time for team activities. He called him out about being late for everything and how that impacts the locker room. Spurs center Victor Wembanyama with a right knee contusion will not play tonight against the Thunder, 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Pluckers Wing Bar. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Sharie A with us 30 minutes from now, talking Saints and a little bit of Pels as well. A little more audio from Brian Kelly, specifically about the communication issues that LSU seems to be having, specifically on defense. We'll do that in 15 minutes. But we'll start hour number 2 with the Tigers on the hardwood. LSU 3-0 in the young season under Matt McMahon, coming off the best performance of the season. And I would argue the best performance in quite some time by LSU basketball, going up to Manhattan, Kansas early in the season with a new team and just taking it to Kansas State on Thursday night. So now you come back home and you take on Charleston Southern before you head to White Sulphur Springs this weekend for what could be a couple of really important games for LSU. This game is actually part of that entire round-robin thing, but the big games are coming up on Friday and Sunday of this week. Tonight shouldn't be an issue for LSU. Charleston Southern is really bad. This is a team that has lost all 4 of its games against D1 opponents by an average of 18 points per game. None of those 4 losses were by less than 10 points. They opened the season against Clemson at Littlejohn, and Clemson won that game by 27. Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and VMI each beat Charleston Southern by more than 10 over the weekend in White Sulphur Springs. The only team that Charleston Southern has beaten is something called Morris College from NAIA. So the 4 times they've actually stepped into their actual weight class, they've gotten hammered. So I wouldn't imagine this should go any differently. This is a Charleston Southern program that last year had longtime head coach Barclay Radeball abruptly resigned like 6 games into the season. So his top assistant, Sa Nimley, took over in the interim. They went 10-20, still kept him as the head coach. It's not a very good team, and that's evident. So tonight, as I look towards this game, I'm not talking about any sort of matchup. I'm not talking about any sort of strength that Charleston Southern has, any sort of weakness they have. They're not good. They shot it terrible in White Sulphur Springs. They shot 25% from three-point range. They shot 53% from the free throw line. They turned the ball over 38 times in 2 games. It's a bad team. So LSU needs to take care of LSU tonight, not worry about how to counteract Charleston Southern. And if you, the LSU fan, are watching, I've got a couple things that I'd like to see in this game that have nothing to do with whether or not you can beat Charleston Southern, because you can. LSU needs to protect the basketball. They've got to protect the basketball. You're turning it over a little bit too much. It's not like egregious, but it's a little bit too much, and I'll tell you why. Through 3 games, you've got 43 giveaways. You had 16 on the road against Kansas State. That's a little bit more than you like on the road. You had 15 against Alabama State. There's no reason to turn the ball over 15 times against Alabama State. When LSU is on the defensive end and they sit down and guard, they're really tough. So why would you let a team off the hook by giving them turnover opportunities that can create transition and you can't get back and set your defense? I'll live with the charge here and there by LSU's offense. I'll live with the wing making a catch and forgetting to put it on the floor quick enough and shuffling his feet and getting it traveling. Then you can go back and set your defense up. But it's the guys getting their pocket picked. It's letting teams get into the passing lane, making a careless pass, which you saw twice against Kansas State. Those are the turnovers you can't have. You need, this LSU team needs to make teams earn it when they get into the front court. And that's something they can focus on tonight. Don't get sped up. Don't put the ball in harm's way. Focus on your offense. Try to get a good shot. And then go back and set up your defense. Don't turn the basketball over. As far as, I'll stick on defense. LSU needs to keep Charleston Southern in the 50s tonight for a couple of reasons. You're playing good defense. You played really well against ULM and Alabama State, and that's fantastic. It's not going to steal any headlines. You were great against Kansas State. You held them to 65 points. You held them to 38% from the floor. You held them to 24% behind the arc. That stuff is awesome, and it will travel. Well, this is obviously a home game, but that's something you can lean on every night. If you were listening earlier, Glenn West mentioned this. I put it out on Twitter earlier this morning, and I wrote it at LouisianaSports.net. LSU leads the nation in three-point defense this year. They're holding teams to 16.4%. For perspective as to how good that is right now, very, very early in the college basketball season. LSU's first in the country. Longwood is second in the country in three-point defense. The gap between LSU and Longwood is 4.7%. 21.1% to 16.4. The gap between number 1 in the country and 2 is the same as the difference between Longwood and Western Carolina at 30. The difference between 1 and 2, same distance between 2 and 30. LSU is clamping people down at the three-point arc. Now, if you were listening last week, I told you, three-point defense can be a little bit of chance. Sometimes teams get hot. Sometimes teams can't throw it in the open ocean even though you're not playing great defense. But now, through 3 games, LSU has held teams to 16.4%, and one of those was a prayer against ULM with a double pump under 2 defenders. So you're really defending the 3 well. You need to continue to do that. 1, because it's important as an identity of your team, but 2, because the net rankings, which I think are going to matter to LSU, I certainly hope they do, they do factor in efficiency. So if you can beat up on some of these bad teams you play and juice your efficiency numbers, it's going to help you. I know that they say it's just a win's a win, and to an extent that's true, but if you really want to bake the numbers down, it does help you to have great efficiency marks. And LSU's defensive efficiency marks are very, very good to this point. We'll go to the offense now for tonight against Charleston Southern. Cam Carter needs a little bit of company in three-point range. He's been sensational. He can't keep this up, but he's 11 for 19. That's 58%. He's been fantastic. The issue is nobody else has been great. Jordan Sears is 5 of 15. That's fine. Same deal for Victorious Miller. He's 3 of 10. That's the same percentage. But I'd like to see Mike Williams shoot it a little bit better. He's 2 out of 10. I'd like to see Curtis Givens rebound from 2 subpar shooting days that the numbers aren't bad. He's just 0 for 3 from 3, but he hit the backboard on one of them. So this should be a game kind of like Loyola of New Orleans, the exhibition. You ought to get some real open looks from 3 tonight. And I would just love it if LSU shot it a little bit better. Stands to reason Cam, who's been so good for 3 games, may take a step back and maybe only goes 3 of 9 or something from 3 of 10. But somebody else has got to step up and make some shots. Sears has been okay, but I've seen Curtis Givens shoot. I've seen Mike Williams shoot. I've seen Victorious Miller make a huge 3 in the game on Thursday. Now, Robert Miller, I'm a little iffy on the amount of 3s he's shooting. He's put up 7 thus far. He's 0 for 7, and a couple of those haven't drawn iron. That's something I'm going to need to see a little bit more of, but I'm surprised Jalen Reed hasn't hoisted up a 3. That's a guy who in SEC play last year shot 40% from the three-point line. So I'd like to see LSU make some jump shots tonight. They don't have to lean on that. They need to get to the basket as well. I want to see Jalen Reed work around the rim. I want to see them crash the glass like they did in Manhattan, and that leads to second chance points around the rim, and all that's great. But I'm just kind of looking at this team to evolve, and once again, tonight I'm not as worried about, the matchups and what Charleston Southern doesn't do well and where you can take advantage of them. Tonight's about LSU taking care of LSU. And tonight they need to shoot it a little bit better than they have from 3 in the last couple of games. So my 3 things to watch for LSU and Charleston Southern tonight: protect the basketball, no turnovers. Keep Charleston Southern under 60 points. That's very, very doable. And then make some 3s. Cam needs some company with some guys from the perimeter, so we'll see if LSU can get that done tonight. 7 o'clock tip-off. You can hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame from John Brady and Chris Blair will be at 6:30. If you're heading to the basketball game tonight, stop on by Pluckers. We highly, highly suggest you do that. Nicholson location, just there south of the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. You can go beforehand, or you can go afterwards. And if you go afterwards, I'll be right there. I'm calling out some sports trivia questions. You can come hang out with us, win some Pluckers gift cards, drink some cold beer, eat some delicious award-winning jumbo chicken wings. Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. When we come back, some more LSU football. Brian Kelly talking about the communication issues that LSU is having and what they're doing with the green dots. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Insurance is not the most fun topic in the world. I was in that industry for 7 years. Y'all know that. I've been in those renewal meetings when premiums have gone down. I've been in those renewal meetings when premiums have gone up. And my experience was that most of the time, all anybody cared about was the premium. Although I insisted, you might need to look at this whole package. If you have no idea what your insurance program says, just have no idea what the premium is and when it gets withdrawn out of the company's account, maybe call the Highland Insurance Group and have it audited. They'll do that for free for you. And then they'll let you know what needs to be fixed, and they'll let you know what markets they have that can fix it for you. They've got access to dozens of markets in the insurance industry, and they can place you in the right place for the right price. Obviously, premium is going to be important, but coverage is very much as well, because when that wrong thing happens, you want to make sure that your policy is in the proper place. The Highland Insurance Group can help you with that. Call Jonathan Carbo and his team. They're right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you statewide in Louisiana. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday, and I found these 3 sound bites to be interesting. It's one of those deals where when I don't know what I'm talking about, like specifically, I always kind of walk tepidly. Because, like, I can tell you, based on the statistics that I rattled off, that, like, LSU's not completing enough deep passes. I can speak very confidently and comfortably about that, and I did so at the top of the show. Like, there are numbers that are hardwired and obvious. This is a little more ambiguous, and I'm not there for the communication on either side of the ball for LSU. But Brian Kelly kind of talked about both sides of the ball and how communication has gone. The first was talking about the play calling structure between Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan and Garrett Nussmeier and how that play gets onto the field.
Joe Sloan will call the plays. They'll certainly be on my headset. And look, like any head coach, he's going to be involved in the ultimate decision of whether that's a go or a no-go. Now, as you know, communication has broadened. That communication includes the quarterback as well. So it can't be this long, conversation about, this play, that play, or it becomes confusing to what he's hearing in his ear because the head coach is on that and the play caller, both on defense and offense. So there's only 3 of us that have that with the green dot. The key here is the ability to make sure that the game is going in the manner that I want it to go in. At times, you have to take that action as a head coach. Not that somebody's being put in the penalty box, but making sure it goes through the vision that I have for that particular game.
And that's the line where a lot of people, and I think there are people that are in this line of work that might jump in and say, see, he put him in the penalty box. Kelly's meddling. He's got the play sheet. He's overriding Sloan. Nussmeier's confused. They don't know what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. That sounds like a very standard first take style sports talk radio show. And I just don't really operate like that. My instinct is to say, well, I know that Brian Kelly is hearing this. I know he's telling me he doesn't override. I know he's telling me that Joe Sloan is calling the plays, that Garrett Nussmeier is getting them. And I just take that on its face. I have not seen a lot of instances where Garrett Nussmeier is holding his hands over his ears at the helmet and yelling back at the sideline for everybody to hurry up. It doesn't appear to me that there is a noticeable break in that chain. There is a noticeable inefficiency in the play getting in. I think LSU is getting the play in. Do I think they're executing it properly? Probably not. But I don't tend to leap immediately to, oh, this is a nightmare. Kelly's calling plays. He's benching Sloan. He's only keeping Sloan because Sloan's hooked to Underwood, and now he's stuck with it. Like, that's all going too far for me. I don't know that. I think they're just not playing very well on offense right now. That's my take on the matter. Now, Brian Kelly continued about being able to override on the helmet comp.
So Garrett can hear you too? Yes, yeah. I can override that. I choose not to, but it's something that you can do if you wanted to as the head coach.
Fine. That's fine. I heard Hester talk about this earlier today, and I'm always going to defer to he and T-Bob on matters like this because I have never had a helmet comm on. I have never been in the huddle with someone who had helmet comm on. I've never been in a stadium that had 100,000 people in it. Like that's beyond me. But Jake said, based on his experience in huddles, his experience watching LSU operate, and now his experience with a headset on simultaneously calling the game on the radio, his job solely in that spot is to speak between plays. Once one play ends, the tackle or somebody runs out of bounds or it's incomplete, Jake's got it until Blair needs to reset. And he's saying that happens really quick. Like, I oftentimes don't have enough time to finish my thought before Chris has got to set the formation again. So it's not like LSU is taking forever. There was a time with Les Miles here in Baton Rouge where y'all remember the check with me stuff starting. And LSU would get to the sideline, and then everybody would stare at the sideline. LSU would get to the line of scrimmage. Everyone would stare at the sideline and wait. And you could watch that and say, okay, there's a lot of talking going on, a lot of communication going on. It's not very quick. It's deliberate. And none of that is really the case with LSU right now. I don't sense that communication is a big problem. I sense that execution is a big problem. I don't sense there's some sort of fractured relationship between Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan, that there is some sort of complete lack of trust in Joe Sloan by Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly's got the headset on. He may have an offensive play sheet. I think that Joe Sloan is making the calls and Garrett Nussmeier is running it. They just need to do a better job of running it and playing and calling the plays. But I don't think the communication is a big issue. Now, contrary to that, Whit Weeks was doing an interview after the game on Saturday. He said, hey, y'all's running defense was pretty good all week, all weekend, all Saturday. And then you gave up the 55-yarder. What happened? And Whit Weeks said, well, half of us were in one play and half of us were in another play. And that's one where your eyes about fall out of your head. You go, what? This is game 10. We're in late November, and we got half the unit that doesn't know what the play is? That's tough to stomach, and Brian Kelly was asked about that specific quote.
I'm disappointed that certainly there was a feeling that there were some mixed calls or signals out there. I think one of the big things that we've learned in this new era of communication in the headset for the players is there needs to be one voice. And even if you have the green dot, the one voice needs to be consistent and constant. And maybe that occurred. You know, we're trying to get to the end of that too and what happened there. But clearly that's on us as coaches. We have to make sure that there's clear communication and that there's no mixed messages relative to what being called.
Now, I started this segment telling you that I am only really truly comfortable talking about what I know. And that I'm not in the huddle and I don't know what they're telling the green dot or who's wearing the green dot, and I don't know what was relayed and what the assignments were and who blew it and why they were a touchdown and all this kind of. I don't know those kind of things, but I do know this. I do know that Brian Kelly just said right there, what we've learned is there really just needs to be one voice. So it sounds like that they've experimented with multiple voices and they've experimented multiple ways with the green dot. And I also know that in the course of fall camp, they were moving that green dot helmet all over the defense. Greg Penn had it. Major Burns had it. Sage Ryan had it. Like, they were moving it to different guys on different levels a lot during fall camp. And it sounds like they may not have fully settled on who it is that should have that. And part of this new era of college football, with all these new rules and equipment changes and all that, Part of it is staying on top of all that, being ahead of the curve. And it feels like almost into an entire season with the helmet comm that they're still figuring out how to use it. And that's a little disappointing. You would like LSU to go into that first game with USC knowing who's going to have that green dot and who's going to communicate the plays and how the plays are going to be disseminated from there and all those types of things. Like, that's how this thing should run. And it sounds like they've kind of had to feel their way through it. That's a bit of a bummer. But you hope that they've figured a few things out and maybe they can get it together the last 2 weeks against a couple of teams that, quite frankly, aren't very good. So we'll see. That's Brian Kelly talking about their communication on offense and on defense. Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations in Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet in front of the mall, Louisiana. Get on by for a late lunch or an early dinner today. It's Plucker's. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. When we come back, Sharie A talking about the surging Saints. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical, boudreauxelectrical.com. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that you're not going to have to deal with power outages when there's a storm. Maybe it's a hurricane. We have those around here. Maybe it's a nasty summer afternoon shower that knocks the power out for 3 hours. It's a nuisance. Maybe it's a driver that hits an electric pole. Just protect yourself from all of it with a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Every single Generac home standby generator that comes from Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 10 or 7-year warranty, depending on the type of generator that you decide to purchase. I'm never going to tell you about a VIP membership that you can pay more at Boudreaux's Electrical to have them service your account a little bit better. No, you're just going to be treated that way because that's the right thing to do. Neil and Melissa have been doing that for 40 years, and they're not stopping now. Give them a call, 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or in Gonzales, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. It is Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
We are chugging right along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Hope your work week's off to a good start and appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Done a lot here over 90 minutes. Glenn West to Go 24/7 was with us. Previewed LSU and Charleston Southern. That's basketball tonight. Certainly talk some LSU football as well. Time to transition over to the New Orleans Saints, who are white hot at this point. Taysom Hill scoring touchdowns. All is right in the Big Easy, and that's why we go to our guy, Sharie A, WDSU, down in New Orleans. Glenn, where am I going? It's Sharif. Sharif, how are you?
If I'm Glenn West, I'd feel better. I'd be like 7 feet tall.
You'd be tall.
I'd be really tall, and I'd have some kind of athletic ability. But I'm doing well.
Glad to hear that. Taysom Hill's got some athletic ability. What'd you make of his effort on Sunday?
I guess he became the first person to do everything that he did on Sunday. So that's, that would be good. That's the Taysom Hill I think the team wanted whenever the season started. But, of course, at 34 years old, he deals with a lot of injuries. Now, it feels like we get a Taysom Hill game like this once, maybe twice a year. And I guess they got it at a very crucial junction of the season, as they would say. So, it was good. It was nice to see him, do what he can do, running the ball, obviously. Throwing the ball, I know he probably would love the interception back, and the fumble was just, I guess, a good play. Just ripped the ball out. But, they got the offensive production that they desperately needed from him all season in one game.
Quietly, Trevor Penning coming on in his third year here. What have you seen from him? What have kind of been the reports from the Saints about Penning?
Yeah, in the run game, he's been really good, man. He's been really, fantastic in terms of run blocking. Had that one holding call, I believe, on Myles Garrett, but they neutralized him, and he was part of that. He was part of the reason for the success against Myles Garrett in that game. But, coming into the season, we said, man, this is going to be, a troublesome spot. This is it for Trevor Penning, and you got to give credit to John Benton, the offensive line coach, and his staff around the offensive line and getting Trevor Penning prepared for the season. And he and Fuaga, the two guys who've been healthy all season pretty much, and holding that offensive line down. But he's been fantastic. Up to this, point of the season, 11 games into the season, look, he's done everything you could ask and more.
So do the Saints have their tackles of the future, you think?
I do. I do think that they have the tackles of the future. that's, we came into the season asking that question, who else is going to be good along that offensive line outside of, I actually kind of thought that offensive line was good in three spots, the other two positions, especially at right tackle. And, Penning has answered the call. And I think, let's see how he progresses and, and if he can keep maintaining this throughout the future, not just this season. And, yeah, I think he's good at right tackle, and Fuaga's good at left tackle.
Is it fair to say that in this Clint Kubiak system that the injuries that the Saints sustained at the offensive line spots are even more significant than the injury that they sustained on the outside at wide receiver?
I think it's fair to say with Eric McCoy, you saw that the offense looked better while he was in there, and then he got hurt his groin again.
Yeah.
I think that offensive line is very key for Derek Carr. It was very key in those first two games of the season, and you could tell how key it is in a win like that against the Browns. So I think it's the most important thing. I think they figured it out without Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave in there. MVS is playing well. You have some of the other guys chipping in. You had Kevin Austin. You have Dante Pettis playing. Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau out there catching passes. So they figured it out, but I think it's due to the offensive line and being able to keep Derek Carr upright. and the play action game. Obviously, I think Kubiak has done a good job of rolling Carr out of the pocket when he's in trouble at times, and he's also done a good job of just avoiding some of the pressures and sacks.
That's one of the only young position groups on the team is offensive line. So does that give you hope for the future moving forward, that can be kind of the linchpin of what the Saints are, whatever the next iteration of the Saints is?
Well, it needs to be, Hunt, because how many draft picks have they spent on
a lot.
The offensive line? A lot, right? I mean, like it's gotten there, whether if it's in a crazy way. Yes, the offensive line has finally gotten to the status that they wanted. No matter where they pick these draft picks at, it's finally starting to show. You're pinning Ruiz and Flog were all first round pick. McCoy was a second round pick. Now if they can just figure out. I know if at the other guard position, whether it's Saldiveri or Lucas Patrick down the line, but maybe it's Saldiveri, and maybe next year you're looking at it. Hey, this could be what we're looking forward to, is that linchpin of the offensive line. That those are the guys, those are the 5 guys, and we should be set if they can stay healthy.
That's always the major if with any team, and certainly the Saints not immune from that. They've also gotten the tight ends involved a little bit because the wide receivers aren't all that impactful. And you saw Foster Mora, you saw, of course, Taysom, and then you also saw Juwan Johnson with a touchdown catch. So do you expect to see more tight end usage and then Kamara in the passing game than wide receiver moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, you have to at this point. I mean, you got to get them involved, got to get those guys involved. I think you get those 3 guys involved, it takes the pressure off of AK. I mean, that's the one thing that Darren Rizzi said after the game with Taysom's game. It really alleviated a lot of the pressure from Alvin and not having to do too much. Now, if you get those, other 2 guys a little bit more involved in Juwan and Foster, yeah, I mean, this offense, it looks decent. It looks decent to finish the season. I mean, it'd be nice if you had Rashid and Chris in this offense, because who knows? I mean, MVS, has that downfield explosive play, but if you had Rashid Shaheed with him alongside, that could be somewhat of a scary downfield situation for opposing secondaries. But yeah, those tight ends have to be very productive here moving forward in order to keep that offense moving.
Do you think Darren Rizzi is a viable candidate to be the Saints' next head coach?
This is something we're going to discuss Thursday, and we're going to have a big panel here at WDSU. I mean, where do they go from here? But Darren Rizzi is the flavor of the month here right now. I mean, he relates to the everyday person. I mean, he's a great soundbite, and players love him. The 2 things that they preach when it comes to Darren, and Darren preaches it, is accountability and unity. And he has the players' backs. And I think that players love that, and that resonates throughout the entire locker room. He'll have a chance, Hunt, but the chance would be like essentially finishing 5-1 the rest of the way. If they go 5-1, and I'm stuck into the part where they have to make the playoffs under Darren Rizzi for him to get the job. I really do. I mean, the guy's injected life, energy, passion into this franchise, not just the team, the entire franchise and the fan base. So, to me, in a good associate head coach, good special teams coach, I think he would have to make the playoffs in order to become the head coach. But crazier things have happened with this franchise. They may, you saw it happen with Coach O at LSU, man. Got hot. Players responded to it, and they kept them, and they won a national championship. And maybe Rizzi wins the rest of these games. Who knows? I don't know. They have some tough teams to play as they get towards the end of the season.
Defense has played better the last 2 weeks. Dennis Allen moving on. What do you make of that?
I think some of the moves along that defense, putting Brian Young in charge of the defensive line has helped, in terms of being a little bit more productive in run defense. I mean, I think they only gave up 65 yards this week against the Browns, but there was a secondary that really struggled. They struggled a lot. I mean, I think Alontae Taylor is struggling out there. Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid's essentially first game back, and Ugo Amadi back there. I think more of the secondary struggled this week than the run game. I think that it's better. It's getting better under Joe Woods calling plays. I mean, you knew this was going to be an adjustment period whenever you started making changes like this. When Rizzi put him in charge and you moved Todd Grantham off the line and you're making a bunch of shuffles, it was going to be a work in progress. It's not, finished product. It's not 100%, but at least you're seeing a little bit better progress with the defensive line. And maybe you're playing Cam Jordan more snaps and increase role what he wanted. And I think maybe you're starting to see a little bit better play from the defensive line since you put him in there.
Got big bye week plans?
No, not really, man. I'm just chilling. And bye week is great. I kind of like it this late in the season. The weather cools off a little bit. Can just chill and watch football without having to not get mad, which I apparently got.
You want to
mad.
come to Baton Rouge and watch LSU wear gold jerseys?
No, I think I got a little too mad this past week. I think I'm gonna have to chill a little bit with LSU with these final 2 games.
Well, I think there are a lot of people that are taking that advice for the next 2 games for LSU. Let's talk about the Pels then. Speaking of awesome stuff, the Pels somehow got a win over the Nuggets, but have lost a lot of games, and they'll go to the Mavs tonight. What do you think?
I need to see this. I need to see if Luka Doncic is going to play. I have not seen the injury report for them. And look, Hunt, it's so hard to play with a lot of these guys that are playing on the court right now. I mean, we're talking about some of these, bench players, G League players. I mean, at some point in time, you build these leads with Brandon Ingram in the lineup, and you're like, all right, they're going to have a chance. And they had a chance to beat the Lakers, but ran out of gas and ran out of, it's this end-of-game execution, Hunt. These last 2 or 3 minutes, when they get in crunch time and the game's on the line, it just seems like they fall off completely. And Willie Green is responsible for the execution in terms of drawing up plays after timeout plays. I mean, we've been sounding like a broken record. Yes, they need to get their players back, but in some of these games they've had chances to win at the end, and it's just the execution has been at a very low level. And look, I mean, even if Luka doesn't play and Kyrie is playing, and they just have some, bigs out there that's going to give them trouble. I mean, Lively, Gafford, they can't control the inside, and they can't control the turnovers. They're just going to lose again. I mean, it's unfortunate to say that, but that's just where they are right now.
It's a tough spot. We won't spend too much time on that. We'll let you go. Have a great weekend. We'll talk next week, Sharie. Thanks, man.
Anytime, Hunt.
Sharie Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans. All your Saints coverage, all your Pels coverage. He's always with us on Tuesdays. And, of course, you can find him at WDSU down there in the Big Easy. We will take one more time out. We'll come back and close out a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge, think luxury. It's a luxury line of vehicles. When you think luxury, don't think, I can't afford that. I'll look somewhere else. I want to check again. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. And you can stop on by Airline at PQ. They haven't been there that long, so you haven't heard of them. There's a reason for that. But they're there now. State-of-the-art facility, phenomenal line of vehicles. They are sleek and stylish. They're comfortable, and they're safe. Every single vehicle in the entire Genesis line was given the IIHA top safety pick. Some of them were top safety picks plus. We understand it's a big deal when you're shopping for a new vehicle to make sure that it is one of the safest cars on the road, and you can be promised and rest assured with Genesis that is certainly the case. Again, every single car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge, the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. It's right here in the capital city. If you're looking for a new car, you're on Airline Highway, make the stop on PQ right there near Women's Hospital. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Congratulations to Don Barrow from Prairieville. Don is the Week 12 winner in our 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 13 this Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters. And 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge is your new home for the New Orleans Pelicans tomorrow night. The Pelicans host the Toronto Raptors. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. LSU and Charleston Southern tonight, 7 o'clock. Get on by Plucker's before, during to watch, or after. We'll be there 8:30 sports trivia tonight, giving out Plucker's gift cards, cold beer, delicious jumbo chicken wings. Plucker's, 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall, Louisiana. We'll be at the Nicholson location tonight at 8:30. Hope you will.
I was
as well. What you got?
I was wrong about the game. It's actually tonight. The game is tonight. They're playing the Mavericks at 7:30, as we talked about with Sharif. I'm not sure how I missed that. I was just, like I said, whenever I read these things, I'm Ron Burgundy. Like, whatever it's on there, I'm going to read it.
Just going to go with it.
So, yeah, they're playing the Mavericks tonight at 7:30. It'll be here on 104.5 ESPN.
No update on Luka to this point, but none of the Pelicans are going to play. So I think it's going to be all Birmingham, the whole Birmingham team.
Yeah, well, you would think that, except there's one guy, Carlo Matkovic, who played really well in the summer league. He's a big man. He's like 6'9" or 6'10". And for some reason, he hasn't got any minutes. You would think that with all these injuries, he would, but not any of the big men have really gotten hurt for the most part. If you could say that the Pelicans really have big men, I mean, they've got
Zion and Herb.
They've got Eve.
They're starting front
They've
court.
got Eve Messi, pretty much the only one, and then Daniel Tice. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty bare bones.
My suggestion: no Pels Mavericks tonight. Just go with the LSU Charleston Southern game.
That's fine. Yeah, you know what's going to happen in that game.
It should be enjoyable. So that's my advice for you, the basketball fan tonight. Also, just get on by Pluckers. All right, we got one more order of business. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The Cowboys attempted to open the roof of Cowboys Stadium prior to their game last night against the Texans, and 2 giant pieces of metal fell from the ceiling onto the ground. Thankfully, no one was where the metal fell, but obviously could have been some serious injuries there. And, of course, Jerry Jones brushed it off and said it wasn't that big of a deal. But some metal falling from the roof. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, that is a huge, huge facility. I've been in a couple times. Like, that metal's got to be massive. And, like, if you're in the line of fire there, like, you're not going to be paying attention.
No.
I mean, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and you can't. I don't think you really be able to hear it because it's just like flying through the air.
Well, I
like
mean, hopefully it makes
a
loud
noise
sound,
when it first comes out.
Off,
But
like,
yeah,
that's the end of the line right there.
That's-
That thing
yeah,
comes down.
it is.
That's just, there's no two ways about it. Bad.
yeah. Speaking of ballparks or stadiums in Texas, Minute Maid Park is no longer the Juice Box. It's been renamed Dakin Park. Take it or leave it.
I mean, you got to leave this.
I mean, you gotta leave it. First of all, they should have never changed. Obviously, Enron Field was the best name. They should have never changed that.
Home run field. That's tough. The Juice Box is great. I actually really like going to games at the Juice Box.
It is nice.
I've been to 2 LSU weekends there, and then I've been to Astros Cubs and Astros Angels. And just very much enjoyed my viewing experience there. They have a Pluckers.
Yeah, they do.
In the,
They
in
do.
the old Juice Box. They've got other barbecue options. The cold beers are expensive.
As they are everywhere.
Not the Falcons games, but
No,
other
yeah,
than
it's after
that,
the Falcons,
It's
yeah.
a little pricey. Not tonight from 6 to 7 before tip-off at the PMAC. They got
Yeah.
those special concession
Nice
prices the
plug
hour
there.
before. Yeah, but I mean, that's disappointing to not have the Juice Box. I feel like that's a great name, and you can't use it anymore. But
Yeah.
money is money is money is money, and we just take money at every turn.
All right, next one here. Paul Skeens won Rookie of the Year. And by the way, if you haven't seen the video, it's pretty hilarious because they announce him winning it, and he just says, that's pretty cool. And that doesn't really say much else besides
So
that.
you've got, like, the 3 greatest pitchers in LSU history are Ben McDonald, Aaron Nola, and Paul Skeens. And you've got Aaron Nola and Paul Skeens who just, like, don't speak.
Yep.
And then you got Ben, who's the voice of baseball and like the face of college baseball. Like
He's literally
and
a commentator.
the biggest personality in the sport. It's quite a dichotomy there. But yeah, Paul's just not one to get super amped up.
No,
I
not
remember
really.
very distinctly having him on the show when he transferred in. And I got finished with the interview. I felt like it was going to be a good interview because he was in the Air Force and like he was a big name in the transfer portal and he was going to come to LSU. And I just felt like there were going to be some real talking points to hit on that might be very interesting that he could go deep into. And he's obviously very bright. He just is not chatty. And
Yeah.
so this is a chatty medium. That's a chatty medium on TV when you get that. And it's just not going to be his personality. And Livy's there and she's yucking it up, but he just doesn't have a lot of a big personality.
Yeah, I
Just a
mean,
very
it's just
stoic guy.
just like we talked about last week, Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs. It's
Yeah.
the same way. Just they're very stoic. But again, I mean, I'll take that as opposed to a guy that that can maybe get up and down in terms of their emotions if they're playing well or bad. So
You just never know. Like the extreme examples are like Chase Burns
Yeah,
from Tennessee and Wake, where he's just going absolutely bananas after every one. Carlos Zambrano, the old Cubs pitcher, just wanted to wear every emotion.
Matt Garza was pretty fiery guy.
He was. There is plenty of that, and there are guys that are just going to keep it absolutely to the vest.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Skeens is. Skeens is his demeanor's going to work out just fine. I have in there like, is he going to be the Cy Young favorite
Yeah.
next year? I think yes. I think he is the biggest name in pitching in the National League.
If he had pitched all season last year, he would have been in the running for
Chris
it.
Sale's numbers are outstanding, and he's going to win it. But he is getting up in age. You wonder if he can replicate that. Maybe
Yeah.
he can. You never know. I mean, some of these guys have pitched really deep. Scherzer and Verlander have kept their velocity for a long time. But I feel like with Skeens on the come, and if you're not Vegas is not trying to project who's going to win it, they're trying to manage the money.
Right.
I think he will be the guy who gets he will be the biggest exposure they have.
All right, we got one more here. As the Sports Center mentioned it, but the New York Jets are just trying to find people to fire at this point. Who can they fire to fix the problems? They just fired their general manager, Joe Douglas, after he was there for more than 5 seasons. The Jets just need to fire everyone. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. They need to keep Quinnen Williams. They need to keep Sauce Gardner. They probably need to keep, help me out with the Ohio State wide receiver.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson they need to keep.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I don't even know if they need to keep him. I mean, he hasn't even been playing well.
It's not looking good. They tried. I don't think it's a bad plan. I mean, that roster entering last season looked good.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. They have to actually play good.
Got to play the
But
games.
It looked like it was going to be awesome, and Rodgers was still going to be able to function. He was coming off an MVP season. It looked like it was going to be there, and everything is just falling apart, and that's tough. I feel like a lot of times on Sundays, I'm on the sidelines just kind of watching how everybody's doing. I'm so invested on Saturdays in one, doing a job, and two, like with the team playing. But I feel like I notice a lot more misery on Sundays. We've been talking about the Bears all week.
Yep.
The Jets, Greenberg's going nuts up there. They're talking about it. Like Sean Fennessy from Simmons' site, he's distraught every time the Jets can't do anything right. There's just a lot of that. I feel a lot of Jaguars fans because they had a funny tailgate, and I got caught in like 5 of them, and they got beat worse than they've ever gotten beat over the weekend. It's just, there's a lot of sadness in the NFL, not to mention they're down the road for 7 weeks where they were losing every week. So just a lot of Sunday sadness in the National Football League, and the Jets are not immune to that.
They are not.
All right. That's about it here for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up today talking about LSU's inability to throw the ball deep. There are statistics that back it up. ESPN's Deep Analytics had some thoughts, and I gave some color to that with some of the things that I brought to the table. There's a story on it up at louisianasports.net that you are welcome to check out, or you can find it here on demand. I talked about the uniforms at 1:15. Basically, tried to be as logical and rational as I could be without just going nuts like I do sometimes on the uniform. Basically, what it boils down to is I don't need the television broadcast to interview the left fielder during the game. I don't need LED light shows all the time. I don't need fancy uniforms. I don't need the NBA to dye their courts different colors and play tournaments in November. But some people do. That's what keeps some people interested, and that's what's got to happen from time to time. But I think LSU's compromising its brand by doing it. Just my thoughts. You can go back and listen to them. It is what it is. Glenn West was with us at 1:30. He talked a little bit of football, a little bit of basketball, some LSU offensive line talk at 1:45. LSU basketball against Charleston Southern tonight. I previewed at 2 o'clock, also over at louisianasports.net. Some Brian Kelly audio and Sharif talking Saints. If you missed any of it or all of it, catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, and, of course, on YouTube. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR next. Hope to see you at Pluckers tonight. If not, same place, same time tomorrow. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is that website. Robbie Bolton's been at this for 2 decades. Professional athletes have trusted their bodies, their recoveries with Robbie Bolton. You can do the exact same. Keep in mind, if you've been in an injury, if you've had some sort of surgery, you've had issues and you're in pain and you're trying to rehabilitate, you can go wherever you want for physical therapy. You don't have to go where someone recommends. You can say, hey, I'd like to go to Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You should, because they're going to be hands-on with you from start to finish. None of this, here's an exercise list, do some of these, we'll see you next week. No, those licensed physical therapists are going to be with you, hands-on, dry needling, soft tissue manipulation, cupping, whatever the case may be, whatever's best for you, they'll get that done for you. They're here in Baton Rouge. They're on Starring near Highland Road behind Sammy's Grill. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You can find them online at EvolvePT.com, EvolvePT.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team.